Alright, what's going on, everyone? So, for those of you who don't know me and were wondering what I look like in real life, my name is William and I am the creator of the Empowered Stroke Survivors Mastermind group. So, first of all, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to really hit that join button and join this group. I really appreciate that you're taking that first step into seeking more clarity and understanding about things related to stroke which weren't explained to you in hospital, which could have been explained better to you when you were in hospital. I still remember when I had my stroke about 7.5 years ago, during a time when there was no information on recovery after stroke, and so a lot of the treatment which I got, people didn't really know how to explain why they were doing it and why it worked. And and so being the motivated person I am, I had my stroke when I was 17 years old. I did everything in my power to research and come up with a framework of how to understand how the brain recovers after stroke and use this information to create exercises which address a lot of the problems which not only myself encountered but a lot of other stroke survivors who I've talked to have encountered in their recovery after stroke. So the reason why I want to shoot this video is because we got a question actually on the discussion board from Patty, and I'm just reading this off my screen. I'm filming this on my computer. And Patty asks, when you tell your muscles to do something and they don't respond, is there a strategy to get them cooperating? And then she goes on and she asks another question about another exercise which I suggested, which is fine, but I already answered that. So I'm just going to answer the main question here because I think that's the most important thing. Apologies, Patty. If you want further tips on the other exercise, I'm always happy to give them out. Just let me know. Shoot me a message on Facebook. And for those of you who are watching, also feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook if you're going through a really tricky situation about not knowing why this certain exercise which you've been doing for weeks hasn't been giving you a return. I guess as much of a return as you would have anticipated, and why it is that you can't seem to overcome a certain obstacle in your recovery after stroke. So, Patty, yes, there is indeed a strategy which you can use to help wake up those muscles. But before we get into that, I just want to cover some basic neurology and just explain to you how the brain actually recovers after stroke, because by having an understanding of how the brain actually recovers after stroke, then you'll be able to apply this understanding into the exercises which you're doing, and you'll also be able to not get into a situation where you're feeling a little bit discouraged or despondent that things aren't working out as well as they should have worked out, or you feel that you've tried everything and it doesn't seem to work. So first of all, I just want you to imagine your brain before your stroke, right? Now, I want you to imagine that before your stroke, you were doing a lot of the daily things which you used to do, such as, I don't know if you drove, but you were driving, you were going to work, you were doing all the things which you typically would have done before your stroke. Now, the reason why you were able to do all these things before your stroke is because before your stroke, your brain had two hemispheres, right? Your brain has two hemispheres, the right and the left hemisphere. And before your stroke, the reason why you were able to do the things which you did after stroke was because both of these hemispheres, both the right and the left hemisphere, they were in constant communication with each other, which explains why whenever you were driving, you were also able to talk at the same time to the person next to you. Now, why did I explain this? It's because both of these hemispheres are also very important in learning, in that you can actually use the undamaged hemisphere. So, for example, if you had your stroke on the left side of your brain, on the left hemisphere, you can actually use the undamaged hemisphere or the right hemisphere to help rewire what was lost on the left hemisphere. And that's basically how the majority of recovery after stroke occurs, it is mainly compensation. It is mainly compensation. You will rarely ever get real actual recovery unless you had your stroke inside a hospital and they sent you straight to surgery where they removed the clot and they were able to reverse all the effects straight away. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't get that, and they're actually left with further impairments such as the paralysis and such as the paralysis. However, there's no need to get discouraged, because if you do the correct exercises which specifically force your brain to use the undamaged hemisphere to rewire what was lost, it is possible to wake up some of those pathways which were damaged or which were lost after your stroke. And I'm just going to give you a simple exercise today because I think it's the best way to explain how this works. Right? So I don't remember what your story was, Patty. Apologies. I've been really busy at the moment. But I do remember you mentioning something about having some difficulty walking or finding it tricky to walk after a stroke. So this is an exercise which you can do tonight before you go to sleep. And basically what I want you to try is, I want you to try, when you're lying in bed, to lift up your good leg or your non-affected leg about 15 to 20 times in the air. And what this will do is it will attempt to force the good side of the brain to send signals over to the damaged side of the brain to force the other leg to wake up. And the reason why this works is because you're exposing the damaged side of the brain to the experience of what it felt like and looked like not what it felt like and looked like, but what it felt like to lift up the leg before your stroke, and what it felt like to send those muscle contractions or those signals from the damaged side of the brain to the damaged leg. So give that a go tonight. Actually, before I start, I just want to explain something really quickly which I forgot to explain. The reason why it works is because our brain primarily recovers not through compensation, but also through this concept called experience-dependent plasticity. Now, a lot of you guys might have heard of the term plasticity, which is where your brain is plastic and able to learn things a lot quicker. The reason why your brain is able to learn new skills after stroke is because it is being put in situations where it's exposed to what it felt like and looked like to do things which it used to do before its stroke. So in this case, with the example of that exercise which I just gave Patty, you are exposing the brain to what it felt like to actually send those signals to the leg to lift it up. That's why this exercise works. So Patty, try that out tonight, and tomorrow, if you've done it right, check to see if you can lift up your affected leg in the air. And if you can, it will be really difficult. You will have to strain a lot, but I guarantee that if you've done it right, you will be able to lift it up just a little bit off the bed. That means you've done it right, and that means you've exposed the brain to the experience of what it felt like to lift up the leg, to lift up the affected leg before your stroke. So let me know how it goes, and for those of you who are watching this who also want to know other questions to things which you might be finding tricky in your recovery, let me know. I really enjoy doing these videos. This is my first time doing video. I actually do a lot of public speaking, but I do want to practice doing more of these videos. And I look forward to hearing from you. Okay.